Tony, do you know if we have everybody here?
I don't think so. We had a lot more the last time.
Yeah. And do you know who's the Zoom host for the round?
I don't think we had one assigned. I think Josh Nowak was gonna try to run 3 rooms.
That is me, and I've got everybody admitted that was in the waiting room for your courtroom.
All right. Well, let's see if we get started. We'll see who's here. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ed Moss, and I'm going to ask the 3 scoring panelists to introduce themselves. Why don't we go alphabetical order, Ms. Barajas?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Barajas. I am here as a scoring panelist. Thank you for having me.
Ms. Farrow?
Good morning, I'm Stephanie Farrow. I'm also going to be scoring the round.
And Ms. Wayman?
Hi, I'm Tony Wayman, and I'm also going to be the 3rd scorer.
All right. Can I, whoever is representing plaintiffs at this point, can you turn on your camera and tell me your team name? And if you know if everyone on your team is here with us.
Hello, we are Team Summers, and we will be representing the plaintiff in today's case. It does appear that we do have everyone on the team in. No, we do not. We are, I apologize. We are waiting on our timekeeper to be let in.
Okay. We'll take care of that. And in the meantime, can I have someone from the defense team turn on your camera and let me know the name of your team?
Good afternoon. Our team name is Eliza, and we do have all of our team members.
All right, thank you. Let me get back to the Summers team. Can I get the names of the real names of the 3 attorneys and the real names of the 3 witnesses, please? That way we'll see if we have any conflicts.
Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Allison Merlino, and today I'll be doing the direct of Dakota, the cross of Blake, and the closing statement.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. My name is Cademan Bergtorf, and today I will be performing the opening statement for the plaintiff, as well as a direct examination of Dr. Rogers and a cross-examination of Dr. Williams.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. My name is Christina Heller, and I'm doing the direct examination of Carson Durst and the cross-examination of Skylar Weers.
Thank you. And the witnesses? Can I get the real names of plaintiff's witnesses, please?
But you can't see what I'm sharing. I don't know what I'm sharing.
Ms. Merlino, are you there?
Yes, Your Honor.
Can we get the names, the actual names of the 3 witnesses so we can see if we have any conflicts?
Yes, Your Honor.
I will go see if they can present themselves real quick. We have someone on that.
That's all right. You can just tell me who they are.
Oh, all right. In the meantime, we have Evelyn Haynes as Carson Durst. We have
Riley Glass.
Riley Glass as Dr. Rogers, and we have Reagan Blanton as Dakota Weers.
Okay. Thank you very much. And for the Team Liza, the defendants, can you please give me the names of the attorneys and then names of the witnesses?
Good afternoon, Your Honor. My name is Aditi Akella. I'm the defense attorney. I will be delivering the opening. I am directing Blake Doncourt and crossing Carson Durst.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Nick DeBell, and I'll be directing Dr. Devin Williams and crossing Dakota Weers, and I'm doing closing statements.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. My name is Noah Cotella Jacob, and I will be directing Skylar Weers and crossing Dr. Casey Rogers.
Thank you. And the witnesses.
Good morning, good afternoon, Your Honor. My name is Anushka Udeshi and I am Blake Doncourt.
Could you give me your last name again? I just didn't get it.
Anushka Udeshi.
Odeshi, thank you. Yes. And Ms. Johnson?
Good afternoon, Your Honor. My name is Tegan Johnson and I am Skylar Weirs.
Thank you very much. Do any of the scoring panelists have any conflicts of interest with any of the participants today? And everyone indicates no. All right.
Your Honor, is there a third witness
Oh, a third witness.
for the defense?
Yeah.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. I am for the defense and I am Dr. Devin Williams and my name is Tyler Brumage.
Thanks for catching that. I appreciate it. All right, a few comments, then we'll get started. First, unless you're actively participating, we appreciate it if you'd have your cameras off. I've been told there's some problems with bandwidth, and the fewer cameras we have on at any one time, the fewer problems we hope we're going to have. So when I talk about active people, it'll be the judge, it'll be the examining and cross-examining attorney for a witness, and the witness, him or herself. If we're doing openings and closings, the only cameras it should be on is the judge and the attorney doing the opening and attorney doing the closing. Attorneys doing the opening and the two attorneys doing the closing can have their cameras on during that time period. I need to have all the active attorneys with their cameras on, so if there's any objection, I'll be able to see it more easily. The timekeepers should keep their cameras off, except when they're ready to put up a card, they can put their camera on. Please keep it on for some period of time so we make sure that the attorneys have a chance to see what the time remaining is. First, plaintiffs, Team Summers, are you ready to proceed?
We are, Your Honor.
Thank you. And Team Liza, are you ready to proceed?
We are, Your Honor.
All right. The Colorado Bar Association may be recording this and may be taking photographs. Participation in the mock trial constitutes consent to photographs by the Colorado Bar Association. Anyone who's in the gallery connected with the teams not competing in this round, with any team not competing in this round, should leave the video feed at this point. We don't want anybody scouting other teams, but there are exceptions in the rules for coaches of a team may watch any other team within their organization, parents, siblings, others that have a participant who's on one team may watch their own kids. No recesses are allowed with the exception of those necessary for health emergencies. And there's especially no recesses between the end of the witness examination and the beginning of closing arguments. Any disputes arising out of the competition must be reported in accordance with the competition rules. Compliance with the time requirements will be considered in scoring. No coach or team member other than a timekeeper can be in the virtual courtroom, in the jury box, or in the virtual courtroom. I'm sorry, that makes no sense at all. It says confirm that no coach or team member is seated in the jury box or in the virtual courtroom. Well, certainly if you're watching on the video stream, you can be in the virtual courtroom if you're a coach or a team member. I'm going to swear in the participants, the witnesses, and members in the gallery and the video feed. So team members, if you'll raise your right hands, please. Do you promise that the presentation you're about to give will faithfully and truthfully conform to the facts and rules of the mock trial competition? And please say yes or I will. Thank you, and I'll assume that has been done correctly, and thank you for being on camera. Gallery members and family members, please raise your right hands. Do you promise to represent yourselves positive role models and behave in a manner that exemplifies ethical and professional sportsmanship during and after this mock trial round. Thank you very much. And those are the people on the video feed, and I will assume that they've accepted that obligation as well. Scoring panelists, if you can bring yourselves on camera and please raise your right hands. 1, 2, 3. Ms. Barajas. Did we lose her? There she is. Okay. Do you promise to adjudicate the mock trial competition as fairly and objectively as possible in accordance with the facts, procedures, and rules of the mock trial competition? And please say yes or I will.
I will.
I will.
Thank you. And witnesses in a virtual competition under these rules are deemed to have been sworn in at this time, so I will not be swearing you in individually. But so you can put your hands down. You don't have to swear at anyone. All right, are there any preliminary matters that want to be raised by plaintiffs?
Your Honor. Are
Yes.
advisors not supposed to be in the room? Are we supposed to be out of the room? I'm confused.
Well, me too, because I think it was actually referring to, could you turn off your microphone? Let's see if we can get rid of that feedback. That's great. You know, these rules are trying to be adjusted for virtual competitions, and the rules said that confirm that no coach or team member other than a timekeeper is seated in the jury box or in the virtual courtroom. Well, I don't see how you can keep a coach or a team member out of the virtual courtroom. So the coaches can be here. The team members obviously can be here. Just make sure there's no communication in violation of the rules. Good, thank you. All right, any other preliminary matters on behalf of the plaintiffs, Team Summers?
Yes, Your Honor. We would ask initially for each of the witnesses to announce their preferred pronouns so that the testimony can be more correctly given by each one of the attorneys on both sides.
Okay, we'll get to that. I'll make a note of that. Anything else?
Yes, we ask that we be allowed to present exhibits when mentioned under an assumption that the jury would not see it until it's admitted to evidence, but we be allowed to present it on screen.
Yes, and that's really the only practical way we can do this. So it will be assumed until I indicate that a document is admitted that the jury or the scores have not seen it yet.
Thank you, Your Honor. We also ask that any attorneys or witnesses be allowed to either sit or stand as their space allows with the difficulties of a virtual format.
Right, and that too is approved. Whichever way a witness or an attorney is more comfortable, that is seated or standing, the witness or attorney is welcome to sit or stand.
Thank you, Your Honor. One further preliminary matter for the plaintiff. We ask that the time is not stopped during the presentation of documents for the ease of time today.
Let me see if there's any objection to that. Team Liza, do you have any objection to keeping time running while documents are being introduced?
No, Your Honor, we don't.
All right, then the clock will continue to run while documents are being introduced. But in accordance with the rules, if there are objections, the time will stop momentarily until I rule on the objection.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Anything else, sir?
No further preliminary matters for the plaintiff at this time.
Thank you. Any preliminary matters for Team Liza?
Yes, Your Honor. The defense would like to request that stipulated facts can be moved into evidence. We would like to request the same for the plaintiff.
And that will be fine. Are there any stipulated facts?
In the case.
Are the plaintiffs, are the two of you aware of what the stipulated facts are? I have them in my materials. I just want to make sure the plaintiffs are aware of those same facts.
Yes, you're aware of the stipulated facts in this case. Thank you, Your Honor.
Stipulated facts are admitted into evidence for purposes of this round two. And what else, please?
Your Honor, we would like to verify that you, the judge, the opposing counsel, as well as the witnesses all have a copy of the evidence packet for reference.
We do, at least I do. And does defense counsel have that?
Yes, we do.
All
Well,
right.
or plaintiff, I'm sorry.
Sorry, plaintiff. And it's funny because you're seated closest to the wall, not the jury box, so I got confused.
No,
wait,
of
there's
course.
no jury box. All right, and these, for your information, the scoring panelists all have copies of the exhibits and the statements.
And then one final one. Your Honor, we would like to request that in case of any technical difficulties, that time may be stopped so we can regroup and get back together online.
And that's certainly fair. The last hearing, round one, we had some feedback issues, and the timekeepers instructed during technical difficulties to suspend time for either side. That's a great idea. Thank you. All right. And with that, I think we're ready to go with opening statements. Plaintiff's opening statement, please.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. May it please the court, Your Honor, opposing and co-counsel, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. There is one reason that we are here today, one thing important enough to bring us all into this virtual courtroom today, and that is non-Hodgkin lymphoma. NHL is a terrible disease and that can affect all facets of life, just as it has done for Dakota Weirs. Before this illness, Dakota had many opportunities in front of her. This one thing has taken away each one of those opportunities, from impressive scholarships to educational opportunities to her last connection with close family that has already passed on. It has taken away from her the ability to do service that is so dear and important to her. The ability to create music for those around her, the ability to connect with those she loves. That is the one reason we are here today. But also here today is a fertilizer company, Lush Fertilizer, who is here for 3 reasons. Number 1, dismissiveness. 2, deceit. And 3, destruction. It is our burden to prove beyond preponderance of evidence that those reasons for Lush have led to our one reason for being here today. This will be shown as the very people affected, knowledgeable, and responsible are brought before you to testify. You'll hear from Dakota herself and see firsthand the destruction that has been wrought on her life. You will hear the story of her hard work and astounding success, all brought down before she even entered college. You'll hear how she developed environmentally caused cancer before she even had an opportunity to go and live life from a job she maintained since the age of 14. There she handled a chemical named as Drufo in the many bags of Lush fertilizer used on the job. You will be shown the behind the scenes of Drufo and its production at Lush Fertilizer by former Lush employee Carson Durst, an employee who saw tensions grow between her and her boss as she recovered evidence that the fertilizer they used was carcinogenic, and that evidence was ignored, leading to her eventual dismissal. To speak about Drufo, you'll hear from the expert and widely published doctor, Casey Rogers, an incredible, distinguished, educated researcher in the exact field of pesticide chemistry and toxicology. He will show you the information he has collected on the lack of research done on Drufo and its carcinogenic nature. And when that research was done, how it was ignored, because it shows a direct link between Drufo and environmental cancers such as non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Then Lush will bring 3 witnesses to the stand. Watch them carefully as they tell the story of what happened and what they do, despite what they say. They will bring forward the owner of Lush Fertilizer, the CEO, Blake Doncourt, who will try and save their company by shifting blame to anyone and everything, hiding behind the ways the world has wronged them. They will give any reason besides their own responsibility. They will also bring to you Skylar Weirs, a journalist who will preach the dangers of pseudoscience while at the same time having absolutely no scientific qualifications, training, or education. They are a desperate writer in need of money, someone in the perfect position to be pulled into a plan of deceit. They are someone whose findings happen to match up exactly with Lush's case today. Then there's the board member, Dr. Devin Williams, outgoing chair of Lush's Fertilizers Ethics Committee, the person with such a high-ranking position that just never bothered to run research of their own. The person that says that they're glad the United States has its own system of approving fertilizer, because when the carcinogenic ties are only enough for the entire European Union and many other countries to ban it, there must be nothing wrong with it. Repeatedly, they ignore the possibility that their product could be dangerous, instead touting its success, not at being safe, but at clinging to things. Ladies and gentlemen, you will see 3 reasons the defense has been brought here today. Their dismissiveness, deceit, and destruction have stolen a promising future from Dakota Weirs, a future that will never be the same again. It is your duty as the jury to, when the destruction is proven beyond preponderance of an evidence, to find in favor of the plaintiff and grant Dakota the damages that have been wrought in her life. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And opening for the defense, please.
Your Honor, members of the jury, over the timeline of this case, we, the defense, will drive forward 3 points. Protection. Dakota Weirs failed to wear any protective equipment while dealing with Lush and other chemicals as recommended. Precaution. Lush has run extensive tests to determine the fertilizer safe to use. And finally, reputation. Our witnesses will discredit the research alleging that Lush fertilizer contains carcinogenic Drufo while upholding the integrity of Lush. The plaintiff has the burden of proof, meaning they must present evidence that the Drufo in Lush fertilizer caused Dakota Weirs non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. They will argue that Dakota's cancer was a product of Lush fertilizer use. However, through their 3 witnesses today, you will hear how the plaintiff has tried to unfairly put the blame on Lush fertilizer. You will hear Dakota Weirs' side of the story, where she will admit that she did not wear gloves, despite the warning to do so on the Lush fertilizer label. Carson Durst, a former employee with a grudge against Lush fertilizer, will share Drufo study results, a study conducted after they were fired from Lush. And finally, Dr. Casey Rogers will share their study about Lush fertilizer, which we will discredit due to the fact that it was not published or peer-reviewed. Over the course of this trial, you'll hear from our 3 witnesses. First, Blake Doncourt, the defendant, will take the stand and testify that intensive research and experiments have delivered results that Drufo is non-carcinogenic. Next, you'll hear from Dakota's twin, Skylar Weirs, an investigative journalist who writes about the risks of agritech and has chosen science over family, delivering unbiased results. And finally, Dr. Devin Williams, the lead toxicology expert at Lush, will discredit Dr. Casey Rogers' findings. All 3 witnesses will show that the Drufo used in Lush fertilizer products is non-carcinogenic and did not result in Dakota Weirs' non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. The defense will also introduce 2 exhibits. First, a non-compete contract signed by Carson Durst, who agreed not to join any competitors, but then joined a competing company, despite his agreement not to. We will also show the credentials of Dr. Devin Williams, establishing them as a qualified expert in their field and in this case. Through protection, precaution, and reputation, the defense will prove that Lush fertilizer played no role in Dakota Weirs' cancer. We acknowledge Dakota's emotional and physical turmoil. However, the plaintiff cannot prove by preponderance of the evidence that it was the Drufo in our fertilizer that caused Dakota's cancer, and in the same vein, have enough evidence to support Lush putting warning labels of such illnesses on their products. At the end of this trial, we hope the jury will listen to the facts and find Lush fertilizer free of fault in this case. Thank you.
Thank you. First witness, please.
Your Honor, at this time, the plaintiff calls Dakota Weirs to the stand.
All right, Ms. Weirs, you're already sworn in, and go ahead with your examination.
Good afternoon, Ms. Weirs. Please state and spell your name for the record.
I am Dakota Weirs, Weirs.
Thank you, Ms. Weirs. How old are you?
I'm 20 years old.
Where was your past place of employment?
I worked at Haven Landscaping.
And what products did you use at this workplace?
I use Lush fertilizer among other products.
And have you experienced any medical ailments since working with these Lush products?
Yes, I have.
What is your diagnosis?
I have non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
And when did you find out about this diagnosis?
I learned just before I left for school, so about early summer.
Where were you enrolled in school?
I was going to go to Juilliard.
How long were you working towards going to Juilliard?
My entire life, I've been working towards this opportunity.
Rosie.
Your Honor, I'm not sure if there was an objection.
Yeah,
Your Honor, we cannot hear anything.
well, I can hear, but was there an objection from the defense?
Excuse me, Your Honor, we didn't hear the last few questions.
All right, thank you. I'm going to ask everyone, and let's stop the time for a bit. I'm going to ask everyone on the video feed to please turn off your microphones, make sure your microphones are turned off. It looked to me like everyone except the attorney and the witness have their microphones on, at least in the Zoom room, so I'm not sure where the feedback would come from here. So once again, everyone just double check that if you're not an active participant, whether in the Zoom room or on the video feed, the YouTube feed, that your microphones are off. And go ahead and let's see if we can continue this. If there's more feedback, I want defense attorney to put their camera on and wave and catch my attention. All right, thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, Your Honor, thank you.
Quick question. Can you guys go back a few questions? Because we missed every question so far.
Oh, yes, we can start over.
Thank you.
Hello, Ms. Weirs.
Hello,
Can you please state and spell your name for the record?
I'm Dakota Weirs, Weirs.
Thank you, Ms. Weirs. How old are you?
I'm 20 years old.
Where was your past place of employment?
I worked at Haven Landscaping.
What products did you use at Haven?
We used Lush fertilizer among other lawn products.
Have you experienced any medical ailments since using this Lush fertilizer?
Yes.
And what is your current diagnosis?
My current diagnosis is non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
When did you find out about this non-Hodgkin's lymphoma?
Just before I was getting ready to leave for school.
So were you enrolled in college?
I was.
Where were you planning on going?
I had a scholarship to Juilliard.
And how long had you been working towards Juilliard?
My entire life. I've been playing the piano since I was little, and I've been working towards going to Juilliard ever since then.
And have you been able to proceed with going to Juilliard?
I will not be able to attend
Why is that?
because of my illness.
Has this illness destroyed your future?
I believe it has destroyed my future, yes.
And who is your current caretaker?
My current caretakers are my mom.
What do they have to do every day to support you?
They just have to help me with ordinary things around the house, getting ready for bed, getting out of bed, making my meals.
Sorry.
Things that other people can consider normal and do on their own.
So does this condition affect you physically?
Yes,
Are you in constant pain?
I am. I am also tired all the time on top of the pain.
How has this inability to do things on your own affected you emotionally?
It's affected me in every way. I feel like I can hardly recognize myself anymore. I'm not the same happy, vibrant girl I used to be.
Thank you, Ms. Years. Let's go back to your Juilliard scholarship. What instrument did you play?
I played the piano.
Was playing the piano important to you?
Yes, it was the most important thing to me.
Why?
It brought me closer with my grandfather.
And have you been able to continue to play even at home?
No, even sitting for the shortest of sessions brings me pain.
How did this piano bring you closer to your grandfather, as you said before?
He was the one who taught me how to play. He would sit down with me when I was little and teach me and guide me, and it was our special thing we had together.
Has he passed?
Yes, he has.
And how has this illness affected that connection with your grandfather?
I feel as though I've lost part of him. Not being able to play piano, I'm not able to share that side of myself with him anymore.
Now I'd like to talk about why we are here today. Why did you bring this lawsuit?
Because I want to bring Lush Fertilizer. I want to bring awareness to Lush Fertilizer and what they've done to their employees and to the people like me. And I don't want anyone else's dreams to be ruined.
Now, how many years did you work for a landscaping company, Haven?
I worked for about 6 years.
And how are you using products every day?
Well, since I started when I was 14, I wasn't able to use the heavy machinery, so I would lay out the fertilizer and such.
Were you told to wear safety gear?
Yes,
Who told you to wear this?
my boss did.
And why did your boss tell you to wear the safety gear?
He said that it could cause irritations in the face if we didn't.
Your Honor, I would now like to present what has been marked as Exhibit 1.
Yes, go ahead and bring Exhibit 1 up on the screen.
Thank you. Let the record reflect that I'm showing Exhibit 1 to opposing and co-counsel. Dakota, do you recognize this exhibit?
Yes.
What does this exhibit state?
That it can cause eye irritation and avoid contact with eyes and clothing.
Is this a true and accurate copy of the Lush label provided to you by your boss?
Yes.
At this time, the plaintiff calls for Exhibit 1 to be admitted into evidence, Your Honor.
Any objection to Exhibit 1? And I need defense attorney to respond. Any objection to Exhibit 1? And you're muted, sir.
Repeat that, please. We're having network problems.
The plaintiff calls to admit Exhibit 1 into evidence.
Improper laid foundation.
Okay, the objection was improper foundation. Any response to the objection?
Your Honor, I may lay more foundation questions, but I feel that I have laid proper foundation for this admittance.
Yeah, why don't you lay some additional foundation then?
Yes, Your Honor. When you were shown this label, what decision did you make?
I decided that I wanted to do more research on the product and for myself to see what its impact on the environment had and on other people as well.
And did these recommendations on this make you feel safer not wearing safety gear?
I felt that this was standard for many fertilizers and such, so I didn't feel that I had to take extra precautions.
Thank you. Your Honor, at this time, the plaintiff calls for Exhibit 1 to be admitted.
Any objection to the admission of Exhibit 1?
Yeah, how did they get the label?
Well, what's the objection?
Proper laid foundation, sorry.
That's okay. The objection is foundation again. Any response to that?
Your Honor, I spoke about where the label was provided and how Dakota's boss provided this label for them.
All right, I'm going to admit the exhibit at this point. If we were in a regular trial, I might hold off until the objection that I had foreseen would be hearsay or authentication. There's no evidence in yet to indicate that this label came from Lush. I mean, we can see what it says, but I don't have witness testimony. But I'll overrule the objection for purposes of the hearing.
Thank you, Your Honor.
It is admitted.
Dakota, from this label, what was the danger you understood you would be avoiding if you followed these recommendations?
That I would be taking care of my eyes.
So was there any indication to you at any time that you need to follow these safety recommendations to avoid serious risk?
No,
Risks such as cancer?
no,
Were you ever told non-Hodgkin's lymphoma was a possibility if these recommendations were ignored?
no.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions for this witness.
Thank you. Cross-examination, please.
Thank you. Ms. Weirs, I wanted to start by talking about your illness. Is possible that you might recover from this illness, correct?
There could be a possibility, but my doctor is still uncertain.
And it isn't true that your doctor has not given up hope that you will be able to pursue concert piano.
Again, my doctor and I are still uncertain since I'm unable to play for long periods of time.
Okay. You have stated that you had to turn down the Juilliard scholarship because you cannot complete the program in your current condition. Is this correct?
Yes,
But Juilliard did not require you to turn down the scholarship, correct?
yes,
Did Juilliard defer the scholarship?
no, yes,
Oh, it's a yes or a no.
yes.
Okay. To the contrary, Juilliard, now let's talk about your sister, Skylar. Skylar is a talented writer and has written extensively about the safety of Drufo, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Skylar, whom you characterize as extremely smart, does not believe Drufo caused your illness, correct?
Yes.
I would now like to talk to change the topics and talk about what precautions you took to protect yourself against getting cancer while using chemicals. At Haven Landscaping, your primary responsibility is to spread fertilizers, correct?
Yep.
You started spreading fertilizers when you were 14, correct?
Yes.
How long did you spread fertilizer at Haven Landscaping?
For about 6 years.
Did your boss tell you to cover your face while working with chemicals?
Yes.
But you didn't cover your face, right?
On occasion, on days where it was too hot and the conditions were becoming unbearable, we would remove our face coverings, yes.
And you were also told to wear pants and long sleeves shirts.
Yes.
It appears that the picture, the defense counsel's picture may be frozen. So I'm going, if you can hear me, I'm going to ask that you try to log off and log back on, and we'll suspend the time while we're doing that.
Oh, the witness is also muted.
Thank you. All right. Looks like we're back online. Everybody's back together. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. What was the last question you heard, like, got through before it cut out?
The last I recall was about covering long sleeve shirts and pants.
Okay. When you were working, you were asked to wear long sleeve shirts and pants while working with fertilizers and chemicals. Did you do that?
Yes, but again, with the weather, sometimes we would wear shorts and tank tops and t-shirts.
In your witness statement, it said you didn't. Let's see, we're on. Can I talk to my co-counsel, Your Honor? You're on mute.
Yeah, I don't believe the rules allow you to talk with co-counsel or have any other types of coaching during your examination.
Okay, then I'll just move on. Ms. Weirs, I'm gonna show you as what's been marked as Exhibit 1. Oh, Your Honor, permission to show the witness exhibit 1. Sorry.
Yes, that's fine. If you'll bring up exhibit 1, please.
Okay.
Your Honor, and at any time we would be able to produce Exhibit 1 if their Wi-Fi does not permit. Oh, but it seems like it is working.
Okay. Is this a true accurate copy of the label on Lush's fertilizer that you used while working at Haven Landscaping?
Yes.
What does this label say right under the heading hazards?
Keep out of reach of children. Caution.
How old were you when you started using Lush fertilizer?
14.
What does the label say under user safety recommendations?
It says keep out of reach of children, but I would say that I was a teenager.
Did you follow these warnings?
Again, we would take off the protective gear when it's too hot to work.
Okay. And can you please read what's under user safety recommendations again for me, please?
As with any spray fertilizer, utilize protective clothing that covers exposed skin. Would you like me to continue?
Okay. No. Did you follow that? Right, that recommendation?
No.
Okay. Then.
But it was simply a recommendation.
And I have one last question. If you had followed the proper safety precautions and worn long clothing and gloves and not worked with fertilizer inside, would you have gotten cancer? And then that's no further questions, Your Honor.
All right, that was a question, so you can answer if you like.
There's no way to say that if I would have worn the protective gear, if I still would have gotten cancer or not. So I don't know.
Right, redirect, please.
No redirect at this time, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next witness.
Your Honor, the plaintiff calls Carson Durst to the stand.
Thank you. And the witness is deemed sworn in. Go ahead with your examination, please.
All right, may you please state and spell your name for the court?
Good afternoon. My name is Carson Durst, D-U-R-S-T.
Ms. Durst, can you please tell us, if any, your association to Lush Fertilizer?
Yes, I started working there as an intern in 2003. I rose pretty quickly in the ranks and became a full-time product development engineer. They hired me right after college, after I got my degree in chemical engineering.
What did you do as a product development engineer?
My biggest assignment was working to develop Drufo.
To clarify, what is Drufo?
Well, Drufo is Lush Fertilizer's patented bonding agent within their fertilizers.
What was your role in the development of Drufo?
I was tasked with researching a specific chemical found within Drufo.
What research had been done to that point?
When I joined the company, Lush was in the middle of conducting a test for the safety of the bonding agent in Drufo. And a study had been done in-house, and my job was to research further surrounding the context of other studies that other companies had done to see if there was anybody else who had researched Drufo.
What did you do to research this chemical?
I did what's called a literature research.
What did you find in this literature research?
I did find a study from England that conducted that the particular chemical I was researching is potentially carcinogenic.
Did you keep that research in your notes when you found it?
Yes, I've noted all of my research.
What date was that?
It was June 10th of 2003.
Did you share your notes with Lush Fertilizer representatives?
Yes, as...
Hang on a second, but are you having trouble hearing?
Can you hear me, Your Honor?
Now I can.
Sorry, our connection cut out again. I think we missed the last two questions.
All right, if we can go back, please.
Okay, in this literature, what did you find in this literature research?
I found one particularly interesting study from England in which they found that the chemical I was researching in Drufo is potentially carcinogenic.
Did you keep notes during your research?
Yes, I kept notes of all of my research, including this study.
Did you note that study in your notes at the time you found it?
Yes, I did.
What date was that?
That was June 10th of 2003.
Did you share your notes with Lush Fertilizer representatives?
Yes, I did. As part of our research, we share our notes with upper management. Jerry Langley was their name. And they compiled all of the notes from all of the researchers and scientists into a compact research analysis that they then presented to the senior management of Lush Fertilizer.
Your Honor, I asked for Exhibit 3 to be presented by our co-counsel.
Yes, please bring up Exhibit 3.
Let the record reflect that I am showing opposing counsel what has been marked as Exhibit 3.
Thank you.
So, Ms. Durst, can you please identify what Exhibit 3 is?
So this is the study I found from England. This shows the connection between the chemical I was researching and carcinogens.
What is this chemical?
The chemical was called C3NO9P.
What is C3NO9P?
It is the very specific chemical within Drufo that I was researching the safety of.
And what was the title of
Your
that
Honor,
study?
we lost connection again.
Thank you. What was the last question that you heard? We're obviously having troubles. Make sure that the timer stops the time. Is Defense Counsel still online? Can you hear me? All right, let's just stop the timing. If Defense Counsel or the coaches can hear me, can you ask? I guess all we can do is ask.
Your Honor,
Yes,
Your Honor, we are going to be changing computers. Will you please give us one moment?
sure, absolutely. That's great.
Thank you.
Can you hear me, Your Honor?
Yes, that's fine.
All right, thank you. I think we're ready.
Do you remember the last question you heard, last answer you heard?
It was something about the chemical that was being tested for in the exhibit.
Okay, did you catch what chemical it was, or?
I did.
Okay, I will start from there then.
Thank you so much.
What chemical were you researching, Ms. Durst?
So the chemical that I was researching that is contained within Drufo was C3NO9P.
What is C3NO9P?
It is a chemical within Drufo that I was tasked with researching the safety of.
And what was the title of that study?
This study that I found from England while conducting my literature research is called Lifespan Exposure to Low Doses of C3NO9P beginning during early life increases cancer effects in rats.
Is this a true and accurate copy of the study that you found in your research for Lush Fertilizer and included in your notes?
Yes, it is.
At this time, the plaintiff moves to have Exhibit 3 admitted into evidence.
Is there any objection to Exhibit 3?
No objections, Your Honor.
Exhibit 3 is admitted.
Was there a follow-up regarding whether Drufo could potentially be carcinogenic?
Yes, in September of that year, Lush announced that they were doing a in-house study specifically relating to the possible carcinogens within Drufo.
Was that study done?
Yes, to my knowledge, it was.
And are you aware of what happened next?
Yes, in December, we all met in a conference room, all of us meaning the researchers, scientists, and upper management of Lush Fertilizer. We met to discuss our findings from the study.
What happened at this meeting?
We all shared the thoughts that we found, our components, our analysis, and our research with Jerry Langley and an upper echelon management of Lush Fertilizer, Alex Monroe.
Was there concern raised about Drufo being potentially carcinogenic?
Yes, the concern was raised.
Did that concern include non-Hodgkin lymphoma?
Yes, it did.
Were you able to observe the upper management when this information was provided?
Yes, we were all in the conference room together.
And what was the reaction of Lush Fertilizer's management to that information?
From what I saw, they all seemed very anxious about it, very apprehensive. Nobody really wanted to talk about it. They wanted it to be kept within the walls, quiet.
And was there a written report generated after your team shared all their work in this meeting?
Yes, there was.
Did you read the report?
Yes, I did.
Did the report reflect what you had observed in that meeting?
Based on my observations, no, it did not. It seemed to sugarcoat and leave out the possible harm of carcinogens within Drufo.
Did that report mention non-Hodgkin lymphoma?
No, it did not.
Did the report mention a way to eliminate all concerns about Drufo being a carcinogen?
Yes, it did. It mentioned a way to guarantee 100% that the fertilizer was 100% safe.
And how could you do that?
The report mentioned baking it. By baking it, the company would have been able to make sure that this was a completely safe product for all consumers.
Just to make sure, there is a way for Lush Fertilizer to make sure there are zero concerns about Drufo being carcinogenic.
Yes.
To your knowledge, after this information was given, did Lush Fertilizer decide to bake their fertilizer?
No, they did not. Not while I was there.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
Thank you. Defense examination, please.
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Durst, where do you currently work?
Currently, I work for Tara's Greenery.
And where did you work previous to your current job?
I worked at Lush Fertilizer.
And do you know the CEO of Lush Fertilizer, Blake Doncourt?
Yes, I do. At one point, I was very close with their child.
And so it's true that you got hired at Lush through connections with the Doncourt family.
I mean, partially. I knew the Doncourt family, so that helped. But also, I was well qualified, and they saw that.
But originally, you got hired through connections rather than your own merit, correct?
Partially. I also had schooling, which helped.
All right. Did you have trouble finding a job before being employed by Lush?
Not really. They hired me right out of school.
But it's true in your witness testimony, you say that they hired you because you had a little bit of trouble finding a job, correct?
In the field I wanted to go into, yes.
All right. You were promoted quickly at your time during Lush, right?
Yes, they promoted me to a full-time product development engineer after about only 3 months.
Do you think that was due to your hard work?
I think it was due to my hard work in part, yes.
Is there a chance you could have gotten those promotions through connections, seeing that's how you first got the job?
I mean, there's a chance, but there's no real way to know.
Objection, Your Honor, speculation.
Any response to the objection to speculation for the question, was there any chance?
No, Your Honor, I'll move on.
All right, thank you. That objection is sustained. Go ahead, please.
Is it true that Blake Doncourt said he, quote, overlooked qualified applicants to hire you?
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay.
Any response?
That is a direct quote from Carson Durst's witness testimony.
I stand by my objection.
Well, it's a statement against interest, so the objection's overruled.
I'm sorry, can you repeat
Thank you, Your Honor. Let's move on. During your time at Lush, what department did you? Oh yeah, sorry. During your time at Lush, what department did you work for?
I worked for the product development department.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. Can the witness hear the attorney?
Yes, I can.
All right. So you would have taken part in DRUFO-related studies, correct?
Yes, I did a study, a literature research on DRUFO, yes.
And in your statement, you said that you believe some of the data was left out of the reports done during those studies, correct?
Yes, I believe the possibility of carcinogens was overlooked.
Why didn't you bring up these concerns to Blake?
I first brought them up to a upper management who just kind of tossed me aside. And when I tried to confront Blake, they were not having a very good day, and I didn't want to stress them out more.
But it's true that bringing up those concerns was part of your job description, correct?
Yes, and I brought them up, tried to bring them up a few times, actually.
But you were also receiving bad performance reviews in your Lush career, right?
Yes, unfortunately, there are some people who will like you and some people who won't in every job you get into, and unfortunately, they did not seem to like that.
But you went to go talk to Blake Doncourt in regards to these, correct?
I did, yes. I didn't want to be judged unfairly. I thought I was doing good work for the company.
But by this point, you had proved yourself to be a more competent worker at Lush, correct?
Well, I would sure hope so. I don't know what my peers thought of me. There's no way to tell, but I thought of myself as a competent worker, yes.
So then why were you trying to rely on your connection with Blake Doncourt if you felt that way?
Because it's important the CEO knows my efforts and my the effort I put into this job.
Did Blake help you when you talked to her?
Blake seemed upset. They were not in the right mind space to help me, so no, they did not.
And you began searching for a new job after the conversation with Blake, correct?
Yes, I was worried about Blake and their mental state, and I figured that a new job would give me new opportunities to experience other things in the field.
Thank you. What company did you apply to?
I applied to Tara's Greenery, where I work now.
And do you recall that when you first signed on to Lush, do you recall the non-compete agreement you signed?
I do, but I was very young when I signed it and wasn't completely sure how to interpret all the legal language on the document.
Your Honor, permission to show the court what has been previously marked as Exhibit 5.
Please bring up Exhibit 5.
Is this a fair and accurate representation of what you originally saw and signed?
Yes, it appears to be.
And do you recall the first disclosure reading, during employment and for a period of 2 years after the separation of employment for any reason, the employee will not directly or indirectly engage in any competitive business and shall not become directly or indirectly engaged in any business that would benefit from the disclosure of Lush's trade secrets?
Yes, I can see that on the document.
When you first signed on to Tara Greenery, was that when you were still working with Lush?
Yes, I accepted the offer before I quit my current job. It seemed like the smart thing to do.
You said you quit your current job. Weren't you fired from Lush Fertilizer?
Yes, I was.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Redirect, please.
There will be no redirect, Your Honor.
All right, thank you very much. And next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. The plaintiff at this time calls Dr. Casey Rogers to the stand.
Thank you. And the doctor is already sworn in. Go ahead with your examination, please.
Good afternoon, Dr. Rogers. May you please state and spell your last name for the record today?
Hi, my name is Dr. Casey Rogers, and that's Rodgers.
Thank you. I would like to talk to you about your profession. Do you work?
Yes, I do.
And where do you work?
I work at the University of California at Berkeley.
Do you do any research as a part of this work?
Yes, regularly.
And what is your specific interest within this research?
Specifically, pesticides, including toxicology and the metabolism of those toxins.
And now I'd like to talk to you about your education. Do you have any certified degrees?
Yes, I have an agriculture and chemistry degree from Colorado State and a PhD in agriculture and entomology from University of California at Berkeley.
Do you keep a curriculum vitae as part of your regular business activity?
Yes, I do.
Do you make and manage this document yourself?
Yes.
Would you recognize it if you saw it?
Yes, I would.
Your Honor, I now ask that Exhibit 6 be presented on the screen for the witness.
Yes, so if you can bring up Exhibit 6, please.
Thank you. Do you recognize this document?
Yes, I do.
What is this document?
This is my curriculum vitae.
Is this a true and accurate copy of your curriculum vitae?
Yes.
Excellent. The plaintiff now moves to admit Exhibit 6 into evidence.
Any objection to Exhibit 6?
Objection, lack of foundation.
The objection is lack of foundation. Your response, sir?
We have laid a foundation that this exhibit is made and managed by the witness on the stand in the course of the regularly scheduled business activity, which is an exemption to the hearsay rule.
All right, thank you. I haven't heard anything about business activity or business involvement, but the witness has identified the document that it is what it purports to be, that is his CV, curriculum vitae. So the objection is overruled and Exhibit 6 is admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Have you published any research as part of your regular business activity?
Yes, I have.
How do you conduct this research?
Well, first of all, I conduct some of my own research on a personal level, and then beyond that, I analyze the experiments of my scientific peers.
Is there any specific items your publications have focused on?
Yes, my publications are extensively focused on toxicology and the metabolism of those toxins, heavily researching specifically the chemical Drufo, among others, and I've published all of my findings.
Are these publications a regular part of your business studies?
Yes.
Do you keep track of these publications as a part of that regular business?
Yes, I do.
Do you keep track of this yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Your Honor, I would now like to present what has been marked as Exhibit 7 for the witness.
Please bring up Exhibit 7.
Thank you. Let the record reflect that we are currently presenting Exhibit 7 for the witness and opposing and co-counsel. Do you recognize this document?
Yes.
What is this document?
This is pretty much an index of my published works.
Is it a true and accurate copy of an index of your published works?
Yes, it is.
Do you make and manage this document yourself?
Yes.
As part of your regular business activity?
Absolutely.
Your Honor, I now take this time to move Exhibit 7 into evidence.
Any objection to Exhibit 7?
No objections, Your Honor.
Admitted.
Thank you. Your Honor, I now move to admit Dr. Rogers as an expert in agriculture, chemistry, and toxicology to be allowed to provide opinions under Rule 702 and 703.
Right. Any objection to qualifying the doctor as expert in those fields?
No objections, Your Honor.
The doctor is so qualified and may express opinions in those fields to the jury.
What did you work on in your own research on Dufro?
Its habits of toxicology and its carcinogenic nature.
Was your research furthered by any self-designed studies?
Yes, I created the study myself, and I personally observed many different people who used Drufo on different levels throughout their daily lives. And over the course of years, I was able to manage its effects on them and see the outcomes.
And what were those outcomes? What did you discover?
I found that people who were exposed to Drufo on a regular basis were highly likely to show symptoms of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma and increased just chances of developing specific cancers.
And why is the development of those cancers specifically significant within your research?
Well, specifically for cancers, the cancers would develop most frequently in the lymph nodes of the human body, which are essentially a waste management tract that runs parallel to the circulatory system. So this is where people develop tumors from rapidly growing white blood cells in their cheeks, jaws, foreheads, and pretty much anywhere where there's high levels of pooling in blood.
How exactly did you conduct this research?
Well, I used multiple angles that got me to my conclusion by, first of all, reviewing the work of my fellow scientists, and then conducting my own research where I took a look at 3 different groups of people, one group who never used, of people who rarely used Drufo, one who used it sometimes, and one who used it almost every single day. And by doing that, I was able to track them over years and years and look at how their medical history altered in correlation with their use of the chemical.
And is reviewing the research of others in your field part of your professional practice?
Absolutely. It's very standard, and it's just honestly part of my job to analyze the data provided to me and given by other scientists.
Well, what exactly was the reasoning? Like, do you see any limitations in your own research?
Honestly, no. I feel as though my research is highly effective. It has been taken over the course of years and years, meaning that our data is reliable and consistent.
And did you find results that would agree with your study elsewhere in your professional practice?
Absolutely. A similar practice was done, well, specifically in my study, when we found that the people who used Drufo consistently were able to find high amounts of carcinogenic cells in their body over the course of years.
Thank you. And so within the scope of your study, could you summarize exactly what your results were?
Yes, those who consistently used and were exposed to Drufo were exactly 10 times more likely to develop cancers, specifically in the endocrine and exocrine areas, which include most commonly non-Hodgkin lymphoma.
Well, what did you do with these results?
Well, of course, I immediately suggested that warnings and precautions be enlisted to prevent the absorption of the carcinogens in the human body, and I suggested they get put in place, and I suggested that more research would be done as well, so that way we can fully understand the risks.
Well, thank you, Your Honor. No further questions for this witness at this time.
Thank you. Cross-examination, please.
Good afternoon, Dr. Rogers.
Good afternoon.
Is this your first time being an expert witness?
Yes, it is.
And you're not a medical doctor, correct?
No, however, I have my PhD.
So you can't testify to a medical diagnosis, can you?
I can because the medical diagnosis falls under my fields of toxicology research.
Okay, let's move on. Have you studied the effects of Drufo?
Yes, extensively.
And have you conducted research on it?
Yes.
But did you get your research peer reviewed?
Peer reviewed? I don't believe so, no.
And is it or is it not standard to get your study peer reviewed?
It depends, because sometimes if you want your study to be peer reviewed, that's if you're looking to have it be published in a major scientific paper. However, in my situation, I decided I wanted to go directly to these companies because obviously it's an urgent problem. You know, We need to get out there and we need to stop Drufo from causing cancer as fast as possible.
Okay. And in that study, didn't you find that the users of Drufo should use protective gear?
Absolutely.
Okay. No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Any redirect?
No redirect, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you, Doctor. Any further witnesses for plaintiff?
At this time, the plaintiff rests, Your Honor.
Thank you. And defense, if you'll call your first witness, please.
Yes, Your Honor. The defense calls Blake Doncourt to the stand.
Thank you. Ms. Doncourt, you're already under oath, and if you'll go forward with your examination, please.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Ms. Doncourt, will you please state your full name and spell out the last for the court?
Of course. Blake Doncourt, Doncourt.
Ms. Doncourt, what is your current job?
My current job is the Chief Executive Officer of Lush Fertilizer Incorporated since the year 2000.
How did you build up your company?
Well, I built up Lush through years of research and development, especially through a significant expenditure.
How successful is Lush Fertilizer?
I would like to say that my business is pretty successful. It's used by multiple governments, businesses, individuals, and we've really increased our profits vastly from when we started, which I'm very proud of.
What do you do with those profits Lush earns?
With the profits Lush earns, I donate 10% of all profits to environmental charities because I'm very concerned about the environment and the state of our world.
Can you tell us a little bit more about those charities?
Of course, these charities work to decrease the global nitrogen footprint. And we have also started our own charity to help clean up polluted oceans, as well as pushing forward state and national legislation regarding the environment.
Have you been recognized for your charitable work?
Yes, I have. In 2019, Lush was awarded the SEAL Business Sustainability Award, and I was nominated for the UN Champions of the Earth in the year 2020.
All right, Ms. Doncourt, are you aware of the claims Dakota Weirs has made against Lush Fertilizer?
Yes, I am aware. They said that our fertilizer caused their cancer, and while I feel absolutely terrible
Objection, hearsay?
Any response to the hearsay objection about what they said?
I will rephrase the question, Your Honor.
All right, objection sustained, and go ahead, you can rephrase.
Ms. Doncourt, do you know why you are in court today? Yes, I am in court today because Dakota Weirs thinks that our fertilizer caused their cancer.
And has Lush, what specifically in the fertilizer do you think would play a role in causing any cancer?
We believe, Dakota Weirs believes that Drufo may have caused their cancer.
Has Lush run any research to test for this harmful chemical?
Yes, actually, Dr. Devin Williams, our lead for the toxicology R&D team, has ran many tests that say that Drufo is non-carcinogenic in our products, and the same results have been found by the EPA.
And what is the EPA?
The EPA is a US government agency, the Environmental Protection Agency.
And if your fertilizer did contain risks, what steps would you have taken then?
If my fertilizer did contain risks, I would absolutely have put warning labels on our packaging so our customers would be aware of all the possible risks. If the Drufo was carcinogenic and therefore harmful to the users, I would have immediately pulled the product off of shelves.
Other than research, were there any other steps Lush could have taken to reduce carcinogenic Drufo?
Yes, we could have baked the fertilizer, but since our fertilizer didn't show any signs of carcinogenic Drufo, it wouldn't have made a difference. In addition, it would have cost us more money that could have been donated to environmental charities, which is what I would like to do instead.
Are you aware of any studies that have been done saying Drufo is carcinogenic?
Yes, I am aware. They have been done by Casey Rogers and Karsten Durst.
Are you familiar with Casey Rogers' study?
Honestly, this trial is one of the first times I have ever heard about it. The study has never been published in any valid scientific journal or repeated by other scientists, so clearly it's not very valid.
You also mentioned Karsten Durst. What is your relationship with them?
Carson Durst used to actually work for Lush, but they were fired after they violated our exclusivity contract and applied to Terra Greenery, which is one of our competitors.
Your Honor, permission to show the court what has previously been marked as Exhibit 5.
Yes, if you can bring up Exhibit 5, please.
Okay. Ms. Doncourt, do you recognize this document?
Yes, I do recognize this document. It's our company's non-compete agreement signed by myself and Carson Durst.
And how do you recognize it?
I recognize this document because every worker has to sign one of these at the beginning of starting to work at Lush Fertilizers Incorporated as an agreement to not apply or work for any of our competitors.
Can you tell us some specifics about this contract?
Yes, it's a NDA that says that the non-disclosure agreement that says that the employee will not share or discuss company trade secrets at any time or in any manner with competitors. And for 2 years after separating from the and that is for 2 years after separating from the company. The employee will not engage in competitive business, such as Carson did with Terra Greenery.
Does this exhibit fairly and accurately depict what you originally saw and signed?
Yes, it does.
Your Honor, permission to admit Exhibit 5 into evidence.
Any objection to Exhibit 5?
Not at this time, Your Honor.
Thank you. Admitted.
Tell us a bit more about the time Carson Durst was working for Lush.
Carson he started as an intern at our company and worked in our R&D department, and they took part in our studies that said Drufo was non-carcinogenic.
And what do you say to the claims Durst has made, contradicting those studies?
Carson really had every opportunity to bring those concerns to me while under my employment. That was actually his job. I received no email from Carson Durst saying that they had concerns about this product, and the plaintiff even searched our email system themselves and did not find anything.
What about Carson Durst's email saying there were some concerns regarding Drufo?
Like I said, I never got an email like that. Our systems were searched and no trace of that email was found. Due to this, I have reason to believe Carson may have manufactured it.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Cross-examination, please.
Good afternoon, Mr. Doncourt. Ms. Doncourt, I'm sorry, ma'am. Lush Fertilizer is Lush Fertilizer Incorporated's flagship product, correct?
Correct.
After years of research and development and expenditure of significant capital, you developed Drufo, a patented bonding agent, and added it to your fertilizer?
Yes.
Your product, Lush Fertilizer, has made Lush a profitable company it is today.
Yes, and I'm very proud to say so.
You have a team of employees who you task to determine if there are risks to a person's using your fertilizer and the products used inside of the fertilizer.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch the first part of that question.
You have a team of employees tasked to determine if there are risks to user while using your fertilizer.
Yes, I do, and Carson was actually part of that, never brought any concerns up to me.
They determined that there was a risk to a person using this product, even if it is small.
I was not made aware of any risks regarding Drufo in our product.
Yeah, so you have safety recommendations on your packaging?
We do, but it's not due to the risk that Drufo poses to users.
What is it due to?
There could be risks, of course, when dealing with chemicals such as fertilizers, they can be risks to the user, but it does not lead to cancer. That is what we have found.
So there are risks to the use of Drufo?
There are risks, but they do not lead to cancer.
You do not have, thank you. You do not have safety warnings on your packaging?
We do actually have safety warnings on our packaging. We're asking users to wear face masks, things like that, cover exposed skin.
Are those safety recommendations or safety warnings?
Those are safety warnings. Wait, safety recommendations, I apologize.
Okay. You do not deny that there are studies that show chemicals in Drufo are carcinogenic?
Yes, there may be studies that say that, but we have found that Drufo is non-carcinogenic in our products.
So you have labeled these studies and this information not valid, not reliable, or non-conclusive?
I have been told that within my product, Drufo is non-carcinogenic and therefore does not pose a risk to the user.
Thank you. You've made the business decision to not include safety warnings because your employees determined that there was little to no risk.
Yes, after significant research by my R&D team, that is what we have determined.
And you admit that according to other research that baking your chemicals would remove all risks.
Yes, according to those studies, but since they are not very valid in my opinion.
In fact, Mr. Doncourt, you sat down yourself and created a table of the cost of baking for less fertilizer if you were to remove all risks to the user. Did you not?
I did actually, yes.
Your Honor, at this time, I would like to pull up what is marked as Exhibit 8.
Someone take my treasure out.
Thank you. Please show Exhibit 8.
Sorry, Your Honor, 1 second. Okay. Okay, now we can see it. Okay. Let the record reflect that I am now showing Exhibit 8 to opposing and co-counsel.
Thank you.
Mr. Doncourt, I'm so sorry, ma'am. Ms. Doncourt, do you stand by these findings in daily business decisions?
Could you please provide more specificities on what daily decisions you're talking about?
When making decisions about the future of your company, have you used this table?
Yes.
And you created this table to determine the baking costs of lush fertilizer to eliminate the risk of carcinogens and risks in the product, correct?
Correct.
This is a true and accurate copy of the spreadsheet you created?
It is.
And it was created in the course of your business as the CEO of Lush Fertilizer?
Yes.
It was created to help guide your business decisions as CEO of Lush Fertilizer?
It was.
And this report was maintained within the files of Lush Fertilizer?
It is, yes.
Your Honor, at this time, I move for the entry of Exhibit 8 into evidence.
Any objection to Exhibit 8, please?
No objections at this time, Your Honor.
Thank you. Admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. You sat down and determined how much it would cost the company to prevent any risk to users when making this table.
Since
Objection, Your Honor, asked and answered.
Any response to the asked and answered objection?
Your Honor, I can restate the question. It is meant for the effect on listener.
Well, the objection wasn't based on that. It was based on asked and answer cumulative. So the objection is sustained.
Thank you,
Thank you, Your Honor.
According to your figures, you determined that you could increase your profits by 6% in the first year and an additional 2% the year thereafter if you did not bake the fertilizer?
Yes, we did do that, but it's because we did that because we wanted to instead put our profits through environmental charities, like I said before.
So you decided environmental charities over the safety of your everyday user?
Since we found no harmful effects to the user, we did not deem that it was necessary to bake a fertilizer.
Thank you, Ms. Doncourt. So you decided that these profits were more important to you, or this donation to charity was more important to you than your users?
Like I said before, there was no harmful effects that we could see to any users. Therefore,
yes, ma'am, but there was still risk, no matter how small, correct?
There's risk with every decision we make in life.
Yes. So you allowed for any risk to reach your customers?
When using chemicals,
Ma'am, this is a yes or
always
no
a risk.
question.
I couldn't hear you, sorry.
Ma'am, could you answer this as a yes or no?
Could you repeat the question, please?
So did you allow for any risk at all to reach your users?
We did, but we asked them to please abide by the safety warnings. Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Doncourt. No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Any redirect, please?
No redirect, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you very much. Next witness.
Your Honor, I call Skylar Weirs to the stand.
Thank you. And Mr. Weirs, you're already sworn in, so you can go ahead with your examination. Ms. Weirs, sorry.
Ms. Weirs, please state your full name and spell out your last for the jury.
My name is Skylar Weirs, Weirs.
And what is your occupation?
I'm an investigative journalist, and I've written several powerful articles based on conflict between individual health and corporate policy. I write a lot for the Rationalist Society.
What is Rationalist?
Rationalist is a quarterly science education and science advocacy magazine.
Can you tell us some things that you've written about through Rationalist?
Sure, I've written a series of articles on modern agritech, one of which included Drufo. I spent almost a year researching and reading articles from various agritech companies, as well as a wealth of information from the United States Department of Agriculture and the National Association of State Departments of Agriculture.
And how long have you written and researched about modern agritech?
I've written and researched about modern agritech for over a year, where I've researched a lot about commercialized agriculture and GMOs. Specifically, lush fertilizer has been a large topic of pseudoscience within the Rationalist Society.
Okay. Can you tell us about And can you tell us a little bit about Drufo?
Sure. Drufo is a bigger revelation than a GMO crop because it's an incredibly effective bonding agent.
What is a GMO crop?
A GMO crop is just a genetically modified crop which is used to help increase the efficiency in its performance.
Your Honor, I would like to enter Skylar Weirs as an expert witness in modern agritech.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor, but there is voir dire.
You can voir dire on her qualifications.
Okay. Ms. Weirs, you do not have a degree in journalism.
That is correct.
You do not have a degree in agricultural sciences.
That is correct.
You do not have a degree in chemistry.
Correct.
You do not have a degree in toxicology.
Correct.
You have no scientific degree.
Correct.
You do not have any college degree.
That is correct. I took a gap year because of how rapidly my writing career took off.
You have never attended college, as a matter of fact.
That is correct.
So you have no formal education in any of these fields.
That is correct. However, I've done a lot of research and gained a lot of knowledge on the topic.
Thank you. That is all I asked. You are 20 years old.
Yes.
You graduated high school a few years ago.
Yes.
Your research was what others have said and done.
Yes.
You are not qualified to conduct medical research yourself using the scientific method to prove or disprove a thesis.
I cannot diagnose anything medical. I'm just talking about the scientific standpoint.
And you have done no medical research yourself.
I have not. I have solely researched Drufo and lush fertilizer.
You answered my question. You work as a server at Applebee's.
Yes.
You have not worked in agriculture.
No.
You are not a farmer.
I am not.
You are not a landscaper.
I am not.
You have not worked in toxicology.
That is correct.
You have not worked in chemistry.
Correct, as I previously stated.
You do not have any experience in the biotech industry.
That is correct, aside from my research.
You sell articles to a magazine promoting scientific skepticism.
I do submit my writing to a magazine called Rationalist Society, yes.
Your Honor, we object to Skylar Weirs being recognized as an expert in this matter. Skylar Weirs does not have the skill, expertise, training, or education that would qualify her under the rules of evidence. It is misleading for the jury to allow this person to provide their opinions in this matter.
Thank you. Any response?
Yeah, and Rule 702, in the Rule of Evidence of 702, the witness does not have to have any college degree to be entered as an expert.
Yes, the rule requires expertise as a result of training, education, or experience. There's been a pretrial ruling allowing this witness to testify as an expert, and the objection is overruled. The witness is qualified to give opinions to the jury and the panel in the areas indicated.
Okay. Mrs. Weirs, can you tell us a little bit about Lush Fertilizer?
Sure. Lush Fertilizer is a company that is committed to reducing the impact of nitrogen fertilizer in the environment. Lush Fertilizer donates 10% of its annual profits towards reducing nitrogen contamination in underground agricultural communities.
What is nitrogen?
Nitrogen is a colorless and odorless gas that can contribute to various types of cancer, including methemoglobinemia, commonly known as baby blue syndrome, as well as adverse reproductive outcomes, including diabetes, thyroid conditions, and neural tube defects.
And why is nitrogen so important to agriculture?
Because common weeds pull the nitrogen out of air and deposit in the soil. And without that nitrogen that would have been provided by other plants under naturally occurring conditions, the soil cannot support the grass that is typically found in lawns. That's why many companies have switched to synthetic nitrogen.
What is synthetic nitrogen?
Synthetic nitrogen makes nitrogen more soluble substance than it normally would be, which allows for the chemical to last longer in the soil without dissolving away.
And how is synthetic nitrogen used in agriculture?
Despite being more effective than regular nitrogen, synthetic nitrogen is horrible for the environment, as being demonstrated in runoff zones in the Gulf of Mexico. However, Lush Fertilizer's CEO, Blake Doncourt, has started charities to clean up these dead zones caused by fertilizers that do not contain effective bonding agents such as Drufo.
And how does Drufo work?
Drufo is an effective pesticide that bonds to the grass and Lush Fertilizer's active ingredients, those being nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, which prevents the product from being washed away as quickly.
And what does this mean?
This means that products that use Drufo, such as Lush Fertilizer, don't need to be applied as much, only about 1 to 2 times a year.
Okay. How does this affect Lush Fertilizer?
Well, if anything, it shows that the link between Drufo and cancer is inconclusive at best. If anything, the development of Drufo is actually...
Objection, Your Honor. This is the witness is giving answers outside of what the pretrial ruling has been. They are giving medical opinions, which is not their pretrial ruling. They can only give opinions in agribusiness.
Any response?
We'll move on.
Okay, thank you.
Mrs. Weirs, how does all of this relate back to the case?
Well, Dakota is blaming this product out of many other products they used at Haven Landscaping for their cancer, even though it is the one product that is designed to reduce exposure of harmful chemicals.
Okay. No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Cross-examination, please.
Ms. Weirs, you are here to testify regarding the reading you have done.
Yes.
And that is what you have done, reading.
Yes, I have done research.
You've done reading of other people's research.
You could say I have done research and written for a magazine.
You started your reading with publications issued by agri-tech companies like Lush Fertilizer.
Yes.
And the direction of your reading from there was dictated by the contents of those industry articles.
Yes.
You are a freelance writer.
That is correct.
Your job is to write articles for a magazine.
Yes, a scientific magazine.
And if they buy your articles, you get paid.
That is correct because it's my job.
That magazine is run by the Rational Society, which is devoted to promoting scientific skepticism.
Sure, I've written about things like Drufo in there, so.
You have done investigative journalism on several topics.
Yes, at my time working at the magazine, I have written about many different topics.
And you are a server at Applebee's.
Yes, as I previously stated.
And you are waiting for your career to take off.
Actually, I took a gap year from college because my career took off in writing.
In your witness testimony, you have stated that you are waiting for your career to kick off.
I don't recall writing that, but
And you are being paid today to testify on behalf of Lush Fertilizer.
yes, I am.
And it's because you've done this reading about Drufo for a series of articles that you have sold to the magazine.
Yes.
This reading was not at the direction of anyone else, like a professor or your editor. You choose what to review, and you have interpreted what you have read.
That is correct, but I am very accurate in my writing and do my best to stay scientifically accurate.
But it is still your interpretations of what you read that you are testifying about here today.
That is, I mean, yeah, that could be said about any writer because it's my work.
Now, speaking of your fee to testify on behalf of Lush Fertilizer, you admit that you were in debt because of gambling.
I was, but I'm working day and night to get myself out of it independently.
But you are still in debt.
Yes.
You admit that virtually every commercial pesticide has several well-known carcinogens.
I'm not sure if I can attest to that. All I am like testifying to is Drufo and the carcinogenic properties in Drufo.
Was moving on. By definition, you agree that pesticides and herbicides are poison.
Sure, I think that can go for any pesticide, yes.
All modern grass seeds are treated with herbicides.
Yes.
Nitrogen is known to contribute to various types of cancer.
Yes.
Lush Fertilizer includes the active ingredient of nitrogen.
Yes, however, they don't use synthetic nitrogen like many of their competitors.
But they still use nitrogen.
That's true. They're doing their best to prevent it, but nitrogen is a product that must be used for the fertilizer to be effective.
Drufo, which is a breakthrough bonding agent in Lush Fertilizer, is a pesticide.
Yes.
You admit that there is research done on whether Drufo causes cancer.
Yes, there are research things about it.
And your conclusion, based upon the literature you have read, starting with Company's publication, is that it is inconclusive at best.
Yes.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
Thank you. Redirect, please.
No redirect at this moment, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you very much. Next witness, please.
Your Honor, I would like to call Devin Williams to the stand.
Thank you. Mr. Williams, you're already under oath. Go ahead with the examination, please.
Okay, please state your full name and spell your last name for the jury.
Dr. Devin Williams, Williams.
Okay, what is your occupation?
I started my career with Lush roughly a decade ago and have led the toxology labs for 7 years.
What are your job responsibilities at Lush?
I am a research toxologist by training and working hard to understand how biological systems respond to the environment interventions, whether that is alcohol in neurochemical pathways or inorganic compounds in agriculture enhancing organophosphorus products.
Okay, will you tell me about your educational background?
My education from undergrad through PhD was complete at Colorado State University in Fort Collins. I also did a specialized post-PhD program in pharma toxology at the University of Utah.
What accreditations and certifications do you have?
Well, from the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment Laboratory, I am a laboratory director certified of qualification. And from New Mexico, a board of medical examiners, bioanalytic laboratory toxology.
Okay, what publications have you authored in that relate to forensic toxicology?
I wrote an article about the forensic aspects of poison.
Your Honor, I would like to present the Exhibit 9 to the witness. Do you
Go ahead.
recognize this document? And
Yes,
what is it?
it is my CV with all my education and credentials.
Your Honor, I would like to enter Exhibit 9 in as evidence.
Any objection to Exhibit 9? Any objection to Exhibit 9?
Yes, Your Honor. We object under hearsay.
Any response to the hearsay objection?
No.
Then the objection is sustained.
And then, Your Honor, I would like to have Dr. Williams qualified as an expert in forensic toxicology, including determining whether potential toxic agents is responsible for causing illnesses in human beings.
Any objection to the doctor being qualified as an expert in forensic toxicology?
Yes, Your Honor. We believe that improper foundation has been laid towards the education of the doctor. Your Honor, you're on mute, but as there was no curriculum vitae entered into evidence.
I'm sorry, any response to the objection?
Yeah. Yeah, he's got a PhD.
Yeah, the doctor testified that he's got a PhD in this field. The doctor is qualified. Objection overruled, and the doctor will be allowed to provide expert opinions in the field of forensic toxicology.
Thank you. Why did Lush create Drufo?
They wanted to develop a new generation of fertilizer that did not contribute to nitrate pollution.
What is nitrate pollution?
It is the buildup of excessive nutrients in bodies of water caused by agricultural runoff. It all traces to excess nitrogen. Basically, unused nitrogen from fertilizers gets converted to nitrates by bacteria in the soil. Then those nitrates are carried off into streams and lakes by the runoff, by rain and irrigation runoff.
Is nitrate pollution harmful to humans?
Yes, the nitrates then accumulate in the water, leading to dense algae bloom that reduces oxygen in the water, which kills the fish. More importantly, the algae blooms also can harbor bacteria that are harmful to humans.
How does Drufo stop nitrate pollution?
Drufo binds to the ingredients and fertilizers into the grass or other plants on which the fertilizer is sprayed. As a result, less fertilizer needs to be sprayed and less washes away into the soil, thereby interrupting the process I have talked about.
Okay, how does the safety of Drufo compare to other fertilizers?
Drufo is a revolutionary product that is far better for the planet and people in general than the old generation of fertilizers.
If Drufo is safer for humans, why is it banned in the EU?
The ban is not based on concerns over cancer risks. Under the European Union's nitrate directive, no new fertilizer formulations may be used that contribute more than incidental nitrate accumulations in lab tests. Although Drufo greatly reduces the amount of nitrates that accumulate under real-world conditions, there are still nitrogen in it. So the reality is that the EU bureaucracy chose to prohibit the use of fertilizer that reduces nitrates in nature because they don't do so under unrealistic lab conditions.
Why did the US ban Drufo?
The U.S. Department of Agriculture relies on its own expertise and does not simply just copy the EU.
Okay, why didn't Lush fight the EU ban?
In theory, Lush could have fought the EU decision, but
Objection, speculation.
And the response to the speculation objection?
It was, he talks about this a lot in his witness statement, and he says why he thinks that they didn't fight the band.
The objection is that the statement, regardless of where it appears, is based on speculation and lack of personal knowledge. And the question was, why did a foreign agency do something? Unless you can establish a foundation of personal knowledge, it would be speculation. So
Okay,
objections.
I'll just move on then. Does Lush plan to ask for reconsideration from the EU ban?
Yes,
Objection, speculation.
What's your response to that objection?
My response is he's an executive at Lush, which would be a crucial part in making those decisions.
Yes, the objection's overruled. This is a representative of the company, and you're asking about the company's position.
Okay, yes, my department is finishing a study that we expect will prove that Drufo-based products leads to reduction in real-world applications of nitrate. If we are right, Lush plans to submit our findings for reconsideration in the EU approval.
Okay, in your expert opinion, does Drufo cause non-Hodgkin's lymphoma?
The use of Drufo has not been correlated with a statistically significant increase in the incidence of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma or other cancers.
Why don't you just say it doesn't cause cancer?
Because that's not how science works. If you take a large group of people, a small number of them will develop non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. That's any large group of people. So if you take a large group of people who will use the fertilizer with Drufo, some of them will develop it. Did the Drufo play a role in that, or would the same people still have come down with the disease had they not used the fertilizers? The way we answer this is through statistics.
Okay. What is the correct way to test if Drufo does cause cancer?
For instance, we can take a look at the incident rate of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma in groups of people who have used fertilizers with Drufo and compare that to the incident rate for people who use different types of fertilizers.
What happened when you tested this?
The data that we have analyzed all came in below normal confidence level. In other words, all the data we looked at was consistent with users of fertilizers, with Drufo not having elevated risks of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma compared to users of other fertilizers.
Why do you keep comparing users of other fertilizers to users of Drufo?
Because to reach a valid conclusion, you have to compare apples to apples.
Okay, what was wrong with Dr. Rogers' study?
Dr. Rogers' study reportedly looked at exposure to Drufo for farm laborers versus casual gardeners versus people who did not do either of those things. This is comparing apples to oranges. Farm laborers and gardeners are exposed to a number of different products and environmental conditions that people who do not do those things do not encounter. Pesticides, plants, foods, and on and on. Also, farm laborers and even gardeners typically have different lifestyles from people who do not do those things. Different lifestyles means different environments, and different environments means different exposures.
So what would a valid study compare?
As such, a valid study would need to compare something like a farm laborer who used
Objection asked and answered.
Any response to the objection?
No.
All right, the objection is overruled. The prior questioning had to do with why other comparisons were apples and oranges, and this one is about why what comparisons would be valid, would not be apples and oranges. You can go ahead.
Okay, did Dr. Rogers do a valid study?
No.
What other problems are there with Dr. Rogers' study?
Dr. Rogers' study did not get peer reviewed, and more importantly, it has not been replicated.
Why is it important for a study to get peer reviewed?
The history of science is replete with study results that could be never duplicated. Sometimes that is just because the one study was a fluke. Sometimes, however, it is because the person doing it was biased.
Okay, I have one final question for you, Dr. Williams. In your expert opinion, do you think Drufo causes cancer?
No.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
Cross-examination, please.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. Hello, good afternoon, Dr. Williams.
Good
You work at
afternoon.
Lush Fertilizer?
Yes.
You're on the board at Lush Fertilizer.
Yes.
And you yourself have previously admitted you are financially biased.
Yes.
You work on the ethics committee
Yes. And I'm also the head of it.
with Drufo specifically.
Yes.
You started work on Drufo after half the development team left.
Yes.
You are aware of a study done on Drufo by the EU.
Yes.
Objection.
What's the objection?
He's asking statements, not questions.
Oh, overruled. You can answer that question.
Okay. Yes, the study was based on pollution of nitrates, not based on whether Drufo causes cancer.
But this study banned the usage of Drufo in the European Union.
Yes, it did.
Other countries have used this study to create bans of their own.
Yes.
Those countries trusted this study to make their legislation.
Yes.
It was banned because it produces too many nitrates.
Yes. Actually, it was not too much. It was just any at all.
But Drufo is a product designed to prevent nitrates in the environment.
It was created to create less, not prevent.
So it is a product to try and mitigate that problem, correct?
Yes.
This nitrate leak is dangerous to humans.
Yes.
You have done your own study on Drufo,
Yes.
a study funded by Lush.
Yes.
And that study did not find any evidence of excessive nitrate leak.
Yes.
In opposition to the study done by the European Union,
Yes.
multiple studies have been done on Drufo's carcinogenic nature.
Yes.
Those studies have often linked Drufo to cancer,
Yes, but they have not been peer reviewed.
but your studies at Lush did not.
Yes, they have not.
So the Lush studies, again, discounted studies as they had done in the case of the European Union.
Yes.
No further questions at this time, Your Honor.
Redirect, please.
I have no redirect questions, Your Honor.
All right, thank you very much. And your next witness?
The defense has no more witnesses, Your Honor.
All right, thank you.
Closing.
The defense rests and we're getting ready for closing argument. Plaintiff's counsel, please.
Sorry, Your Honor, slight technical difficulties. Good afternoon. May I please the court opposing co-counsel? Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Today, a young victim of corporate America has been attacked by Lush Fertilizer. Will you allow this company to continue to market a dangerous product, putting people, especially young people's lives at risk? You as the jury have the power to keep this destructive chemical out of the hands of today's workers, whose complaints for too long have been dismissed by Lush Fertilizer. You heard from former Lush employee Carson Durst, who is a prime example of Lush Fertilizer's dismissive behavior after she shared her findings about the dangers of Drufo with her boss, They dismissed her. They did not allow her to speak freely, and it led to Lesh knowingly supporting a dangerous work environment. This company tried to undermine the data that has shown how dangerous this product is and used Dr. Devin Williams, an employee of theirs, to do so. He repeatedly ignored the possibility that their Lush products could be dangerous. He did not care enough to run any extra tests on the products, all to protect the Lush Corporation. This is a company that lacks transparency and has used their power and money to deceive the public. The Lush fertilizer that our client Dakota Weirs works with on a daily basis contained the chemical compound of Drufo, a toxic pesticide, according to Dr. Casey Rogers, a published, well-respected researcher of pesticides and toxicology, who you heard from today. And that without proper gear, there will be an increase in a person's chance of developing non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Yes, Dakota could have been more careful and read the recommendations on the back of Lush's products. But this company failed to exercise reasonable care to prevent the product from creating an unreasonable risk by making the use of safety gear a recommendation and forcing the user to search for what safety gear should be used while handling this product. While you may have heard differently from the owner of Lush, Blake Doncourt, he's the CEO of a large corporation, and they know people don't want to buy a product that might make them sick or cause injury. So this creation of an unreasonable risk seemed okay, as long as they were making money. Doncourt will do anything to save his company and reputation. So please, before you believe his story of improvement, remember who he is and what he may have done to hundreds of people, including Dakota Weirs. Dakota was young when she first started using Lush products. She had just started a landscaping job, and Lush should have reasonably known that someone of a younger mind may have been using their products. Dakota did not know of the consequences of their products because Lush did not take into account their consumer base. Their consumer base not being taken into account allowed for a young, bright soul to face damages due to this company's negligence for the rest of their life. You heard from Dakota. You know Dakota Weirs had a beautiful, bright future doing what she loved, playing the piano, just like her late grandfather. And while her twin sister, Skylar Weirs, is a desperate writer, pretending to care about science when she has no qualifications that would speak to this, Dakota loves and cares for her family. And now she cannot connect with the largest influence in her life, her grandfather, the man who encouraged her and stood up by her side, even after his death, through the keys of a piano. This is all because a corporation didn't want to lose some of their profits and high reputation. So please, when making your decision, do not allow this dangerous product and company to continue to ruin more human lives than they already have. Thank you.
And defense, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Okay, let's talk about facts versus emotion. You should focus on the facts. It's up to you to decide whether Ms. Weirs is proven by preponderance of the evidence that Lush was negligent in not putting warnings on its Drufo products. It's very sad that Dakota Weirs has cancer, but the facts that there is no evidence that Drufo caused her cancer and that she is a victim of corporate America. You heard this fact from Dr. Williams, who is an expert in forensic toxicology. He specializes in determining whether chemicals cause harm to humans. He testified that there is no proof that Drufo causes Ms. Weirs' cancer. He said that no one has done any study comparing apples to apples. That is, no one even tested whether people who use Drufo have a higher rate of cancer than people who use other fertilizers. Compare Dr. Williams' testimony to that of Casey Rogers. Dr. Rogers' education is in agricultural and entomology, which is the study of insects. He isn't even properly qualified to give an opinion on whether Drufo caused cancer in humans. Skylar Weirs talked about the many works of writing she's done throughout her career and how her years of researching Drufo shows what a great product this is. It is such a great product that she sided against her own sister to help the product. She also talked about how Drufo is designed to reduce the use of fertilizer needed to be used and how it was designed to have less chemical exposure. The plaintiff used a disgruntled former employee by the name of Carson Durst. When he first got a job at Lush, he wasn't qualified for the job, but he got it over better candidates because he was friends with the CEO. He could not find a job before Lush, and he was at Lush and he had bad performance reviews and still got promoted. He says he was a good employee, but if that was true, he would have tried to use his friendship. He wouldn't have tried to use his friendship with Blake Doncourt to get his bad performance reviews fixed. Then after one bad conversation with Blake, he decided to leave the company and go to a competitor, even though he signed an NDA and a non-competition agreement that said he could not go work for a competitor. This pattern of behavior seems to be very common for Mr. Durst and shows that he isn't worthy or credible. Another fact is the fertilizers are by definition poison, and Dakota Weirs worked with a lot of fertilizer, not just Drufo. The whole point of this case is whether or not Lush should have put warning labels on Drufo, but other fertilizers companies did put warning labels on the labels, and Miss Weirs ignored them. She did not wear pants, she wore shorts, she did not wear a long sleeve shirt, she did not wear an N95 mask, she did not wear eye protection, she didn't wear gloves. She used these fertilizers inside, even though she knew it was dangerous too. So we at Lush also put a warning not to use Drufo products inside, and in Dakota's testimony, she admits to not following this warning. Out of the products they used, Lush was the only product that caused less chemical exposure. Dr. Casey Rogers, who said that Drufo caused cancer, but no one peer reviewed his study to make sure he didn't make a mistake. And he also found that people were fine when they used protective gear while using Drufo. If this study was accurate and no mistakes were made, it shows that the plaintiff Dakota Weirs would have been fine if she wore protective gear. In the sums, Ms. Weirs has not proven by preponderance of the evidence that Lush fertilizer was negligent. And if anything, Ms. Weirs is only herself to blame for her illness. We ask you to find in favor of the defendant on negligence and to find the plaintiff was negligent in failing to wear proper protective gear when using fertilizer. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, everyone. And now I'm going to give the scoring panel 5 minutes to fill out their scorecards. Panelists, when you've completed filling out your scorecards, just turn on your cameras. When I see all 3 of you on the screen, we'll go into some comments about today's presentation.
Judge Moss, I just wanted to let you know I've received all the scoring sheets for your group.
Okay. I was just waiting for Ms. Farot, but since we've got her scorecard submitted, let's go to some comments, and there she is. Let's start with Ms. Wayman, please.
Sure, you guys did wonderfully, extremely well on the professionalism. I had to give you both sides such great high marks. You handled the technical difficulties and were very respectful to each other for those issues and even during objections. Be a little careful with always answering yes, no, not or shaking your head. Also be careful with okay. You can see I do that too. Try to get away from your notes the best you can. I know they're a crutch to kind of make you feel better, but you guys really do know this stuff inside out. You'll be surprised, and that crutch kind of hurts you more than it actually helps you. And then finally, I would challenge everybody to try to do at least one question or 1 or 2 questions in redirect. Listen for one point that they may have made on the direct that you could potentially bolster and just ask 1 or 2 questions. That's it. Great job, guys.
Good. Ms. Farrow.
Hey guys, so I echo what Ms. Wayman said. You guys did fantastic. I think it really speaks to your preparation to be able to handle the technical issues that we had with as much grace as both sides did today. You were both more than happy to go backwards and accommodate the whatever team was having issues. That's really tremendous to see at this level of competition. I'm going to bring up something that I didn't in the last round because I think it's important, and probably I should have said it last time. So you guys have the jury instructions that lay out what you need to prove in order to either meet your case or what you should be trying to defend against. And I didn't hear you guys talking about those elements as much as I think that you could have. You have the stuff that goes into making that, you know, recipe. You just aren't using the buzzwords that are available in your jury instruction. So if I were a juror getting ready to go back and decide whether, you know, the burden had been met or not, I might be left wondering how all of that applies to the instructions that I'm supposed to be looking at. So I would just encourage you guys to go back and look at those instructions and try and figure out how the case that you've already prepared, which is great, fits into those instructions. And it's probably just a minor shift in some of the language you're using. And I think your presentation would be more compelling.
Ms. Barajas.
Great job, everybody. I echo everyone else's comments. Just a couple of pointers I liked in the beginning, you know, not reading the openings, not reading the closings. Those are your opportunity to sell the story. So, and like Tony said, you guys know this stuff better than anybody. So just trust yourself there. I liked, there were some nice pauses during those times. You guys were using effective words, kind of grabbing attention in a good way. During plaintiffs, I believe it was across, the individual was using good benchmarks, which I liked. In the second witness for plaintiff's case, I liked the order of the questions. It flowed very well. Many of you were very comfortable, both on direct and cross, and asking questions. And I think you guys were doing a good job of trying to listen to the responses and responding to that. Definitely, you don't want to cut off witnesses. It was sometimes hard for me to hear what the person was saying. And I know, you know, you want the yes or no's when you're cross-examining, but you got to let the people speak and control the witness in a different way. What else do I have here? But let's see here. Also, I would echo, I believe, Tony's comments about redirect, try to ask a question or two. And also, if there are objections, try to have a response, and also make sure that your response aligns with whatever the objection is. You might think that they're going to object to hearsay and you're responding with something related to relevance. So be able to be flexible in that way and make sure that your response aligns. But otherwise, you guys did so great. And again, thanks for having us here.
Well, you know, I am just shocked that high school students would even attempt to get into the rules of evidence, because even judges and lawyers get lost in there. You folks did a really good job of understanding the objections, and you know, sometimes they were right on point, sometimes they were a little off, but the fact that you're thinking about it was just wonderful. A couple things stood out for me. One is the theme of the case, and in the plaintiff's opening statement, they did a little alliteration. It was lovely. It was dismissiveness, deceit, and destruction. And then those three concepts came up again in the closing. I just love hearing that. And I think that has an appeal to jurors, at least in the cases that I thought that I'd been part of. The other thing that really stood out for me was the request to voir dire on the expert's qualifications. That was a great technique. I mean, there was already a pretrial order saying the witness was going to be allowed to testify as an expert, but when you read that carefully, it doesn't exactly say an expert on what. And so the fact that you decided to voir dire on the area of expertise and the timing of it threw a real question mark in everything the witness that Skylar said after that. It was really beautifully constructed and a great tactic. And it's a tactic that's used regularly in court. So congratulations for seeing that and putting that together. And the other technique, of course, that when you're dealing with experts is probably most lawyers can't match an expert one-on-one in that area of expertise. So you start asking about stuff they don't have expertise in, and try and attack their credibility that way by going away from what's on their CV to the things that aren't on their CV. So maybe you want to look at the CVs as they come in and say, what is this person really an expert in? Is this person an expert in mice? Is this person expert in rats? Things like that. Really, really well done. I was just so impressed with everybody and all the hard work that you put in to get this thing ready for today. So thanks to all of you. Let me ask the scoring panelists, anything else anybody has? No? All right. Congratulations to everybody and good luck in the next round. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.